So as we get into the next new week, we start with part 11 of this, and you'll see that we've now got the left-hand panel of the swell box up. So it's actually in the correct position now, not balanced on the top of the soundboard upper board. And to do that, as I said in the last video, we needed to get a couple of trolley jacks because I'd put the organ too far back against the wall. And so that trolley jack, one of them is just lurking there. So later on today, we're going to put the second section of the back on, because that's now prepared, with a new piece of timber let in like we had to with the other one, where there'd been rot and woodworm. And we're going to put the front on, all being well, as well. Then I'm going to paint the interior of the box white. And then we'll bother with the lid. I've done the top of the box and that's already painted, ready to go on. We'll do that last. So I've got another trolley jack at the other side, and we'll jack it up and we'll move the organ then back. Because what I've not taken into consideration is that conduit which runs behind the organ. If I just get the camera to show that. So you've got a 20mm conduit, and that holds the swell box off the wall. And that's why we needed to move the organ forward. I'd not thought about that. So there we go. So that's where we are to start this part. Okay, so we're on Tuesday now, and as you can see, we've got the left, right, and the top and bottom back panels now in place. And not only have we got the primer paint on, but we've also put the gloss top coat on. So that's where that stays. And I've also painted the top of the swell box, also painted the front of the swell box. We'll do the shutters later, at a much later date. So I'm just going to let the paint dry. It's touch dry, but I don't think we're going to attach the front today. We'll probably leave that to tomorrow evening so that it's had 24 hours to dry. So we can probably put some of the rack pillars in for the back, and some of the fittings back on the inside, which I took out the board-on pipe stays. So I think we're going to find some of the board-on pipes out, and we'll start cleaning those. Right, well, before we put that swell box front on, I think we'll put these conveyances in. So if we look at these pictures, the base side, the left-hand side, with 3 conveyances that go before the upper board, so sorry, straight from the upper board, before the rack board, straight into the side of the swell box, which is grooved through, as you will see in a moment, and on the right hand side the same. So when it's put together, we've got those pipes stood off and the same there. So that's how that works. So that's what we're trying to achieve. And so these are the conveyances. I've got them out. And these will all be numbered where the labels haven't fallen off. So that one, it says, because the job number DO4022, Louth, swell B3, so that's base and the third one. So I'm going to clean those, and then we're going to glue those into position. So I've temporarily put a pulley onto the building frame there, and funnily enough, one of the screws went into an existing hole, so perhaps they had it there. There's a hook just here, we've gone handheld, as you can tell, just there, and then we've done a kind of knot just so we can set that up. We would have it a little bit more. Let's just show you the bounds. You can see that that's full of air. So what we're going to do is take a pressure reading, which we need, because we're going to be sending the oboe pipes in for revoicing to booths of leads. Right, so what I've done here, I've got the pressure gauge, which is in inches of water, so we use water gauge, and I've put it into a pipe hole that the pipe fits. So we've just done a little test. We've got 2 3/4 inches by the looks of it. So, Mr. Chippy, if you'd like to push that note. Yeah. So, 2 3/4, it's under the 3. 3 would be there, so just under the 3. So we'll say 2 3/4. I've tested it in 2 holes, so that's where we are. So I put these conveyances in, so we're going to put some of those pipes in, which I've cleaned. Unfortunately, there was mouse damage to 4 of the 6 stopper leathers. So I'm going to show you how that's dealt with. Right folks, so I found an offcut of leather which is the right thickness, and it's very, when I've checked it with the micrometer, it was about 0.7 to 0.9, and that's about what this is. So I did just check that. I don't know whether we can see, but let's have a see if that, I don't know, let's move the viewfinder. What was it? Fine, a lot of good. So I've got 0.7 showing there, which is where we'll take it from. Because I don't want to put it in too thick, or we're going to end up splitting the pipe. And we would have to glue and screw that. We've got one of those like that. Let's check that this is actually sound, which it is. So this is leather I've had in stock for 20 years. You end up with offcuts, and it's very expensive. And you think, well, as a pecking order, you know, the highest quality for the pallets, and by the time we've got an offcut which has been around 20 years, it's ideal for the stopper leathers. I mean, even a piece like this, you know, you'd probably talk about £6. So, I wish I'd cut it out with scissors now. We're just going to fit this, and then it's going to have to be lubricated. Now on the stopper handle will be a notch, and it's here, and that indicates the front, because these will only going to fit one way around properly. Everything's made by hand, so there's going to be a tolerance, and so that's how it's been manufactured. So I'm just going to pop that in the top just to kind of mark it. You know what, I left the hammer upstairs. I'm just going to lightly tap this in position. I just want to see where it is. You know what, you can't see that from there. Okay, so there it is in the top. So I'm going to take it out of the top, and hopefully it's marked a bit on the edge. There's two things we're going to do, and you may think, what is he doing? Right, we're actually going to use Bostik impact adhesive. We could use the animal glue, but it's not necessary. And the reason is, I'm just going to put pop a bit of it on here, like that. And what we're also going to do now is to apply some tallow grease, because these have to be lubricated. We've got this horrible tallow grease which stinks to high heaven. In this organ, the original ones have been black leaded, but that's not something I was ever taught. You can't use mineral grease, you know, like car grease, because it will rot the leather. So it might work initially, but it won't be long before you're having to re-leather all the stoppers, so it's tallow. So I'll try and get that in the middle. So with that, it's gone and turned itself round. So with that handle to the front, we're going to carefully hammer that in. And then when we get to a particular point, which is going to be about there, we're going to cut round that leather. So that's now in, and of course the glue will set in about half an hour. So we'll be able to move that up and down as you normally would. But that lubrication is important. We're just going to check that sound, and there's no splits. I'm not putting this to my mouth, I'm putting my hand to my mouth and blowing through my hand. And now we've got a nice note. So that is another one done. Right, so now fitted the bottom pipes. They're not the bottom 3 notes, so the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5 and 6, notes 4, 5 and 6, that's C, D, F sharp, G sharp and A sharp for the violin diapason, Geigen principle, I think they call it in this case. Now what I want you to notice is that we haven't got the swell box top on just to make it easy to get these in. We're putting that on later today. I just want you to look at the top of this back one. It goes round on itself because it wouldn't physically fit in the box otherwise. So it's what we call mitered. So because this organ was originally built to go on a balcony, there must have been restricted height. And so that's how they've overcome it to make the organ only so many feet tall. It's probably only about 14 feet or something like that. So that's where we are. Those actually play beautifully, and they were the ones which have those conveyancers which go from the soundboard normal position into the side of the swell box, and then it goes behind inside the timber of the swell box, and it's what we call grooved. So it's a very neat job. We'll be doing the other side when I find the pipes. In the meantime, I've got the board on, which is the backstop for the swell. And the reason I've got the camera out is to show you this. We've got a split. Let's just get the camera in a position where we can all see it. Now, where's that split? Oh yes, there it is. Look at that. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix that split. So it goes about 9 inches. Because when I hammer the stopper into there, of course it's going to split even further. So what we do, we're going to drill for a suitable screw. And looking at the width, we can get a number 8 screw in there. So I reckon 1.25 inches, number 8. So that's what I'll go and find, and we'll drill appropriately. Right, here we go. Drop screw on floor. So these have been drilled to clear the body of the screw, not so that they are forced in, and then a pilot hole to the extent of the screw, just 2 millimeters, because we don't want the wood splitting out. So this isn't like you see some builders do, where they don't drill for anything and just force a screw in. So the next thing we're going to do is, using modern PVA adhesive, we're just going to put that down the length of the crack. We're going to open that crack up. That screwdriver will do nicely. There we are, we've opened the crack up. I'll go over that with a damp cloth later. So we'll take the screwdriver out. We'll apply grease to the screws as usual. And we're always going to start at the lower end of the crack. Right, we'll now get a piece of something with some water on it. Now we're not going to try and put a stopper in there for 24 hours. I'm going to have to order some more leather. No more offcuts, and there's a lot more either mouse damage or just plain worn out rotten. It's over 150 years old, isn't it, this organ? So this is what happens. This is a position where you do want a modern adhesive. And there we have it. A neat repair to a split. So what we've got here is a pipe with a broken foot. These kind of things can happen in transit. Now, I suppose we could make a new foot on a lathe if our lathe was working, and that would be the matter. You would then have to drill out the bottom of the pipe, get the words right. But what we're going to do instead is going to make this plate to go over, this is mahogany, to go over there, tight fit in there, and that will be eventually glued in with animal glue, as they will be. We don't glue those till they're actually in the rack board in the organ, because you can never be sure what's actually vertical until you actually put it in the organ. So what we're going to do is to put some very small screws in, and we'll put PVA adhesive between there and the organ pipe, and hopefully that will be fixed. Okay, so that's the block mounted on there, and the pipe's mahogany as well, so it does actually match. Screwed on, and now all we need to do is to get the pipe foot, and that will be a nice tight fit in there. When we did our conical organ, which had come from a closed chapel and the organ had been vandalised, I had every every stop diaphragm and every harmonic flute pipe, all wooden ones, every single one of them was smashed like this. And although we gathered all the bits up off the floor, we were a few caps missing, and I had to make those, had to make the odd side, but it's all original, and it's just been put back together. Now, when I blow down this, and again I'll blow through my hand, not the actual foot, it hasn't got the stopper in, so it's going to sound wrong. I'll see if I can replicate the stopper. There we go. So that's the note. So that's another pipe done. Okay, so we've just put the swell box front on, and we've put the swell box top on, but we haven't screwed it down. We need to get some longer ladders up, because believe it or not, it's screwed down from the top on the left, right and back, and then it's screwed down through the front. So we've got the three pipes which are stood off on the left, that including that mitered pipe on at the back. So those floating in midair at the back are C, D, F sharp, G sharp and A sharp in the bottom octave for the violin diapason. And then the three pipes we've got in the back, we've got bottom C, I'll correct myself, Tennessee, because it's a Tennessee stop, it's the lowest pipe on that rank. So that's C. We've had to tune that. So we've had the wind on, we've tuned it because it's so close to the top of the swell box you really wouldn't be able to get to it. So that's done, and the other two are other notes on that rank which we've also tuned. So that's where we're going to leave it, and this is the end of this part. So again, I hope you've all learnt something, and I think next week, I took the oboe in for revoicing to Leeds today, so that's really what I've done all day, driving 90 odd miles up there, and so I've left that with the pipe makers. And we're going to concentrate on getting 3 ranks of pipes in the swell, and then they're out of the way, out of the storage area, and then we're going to be putting, it'll be that rollerboard down here, which we've been working on. Then we can connect the trackers between the soundboard and that rollerboard. Once we've done that, we'll be putting the key action in. So that's all coming towards the keyboard, but it all needs stripping down and redoing. So there we are, end of this part. Thanks for watching.